up games 6 and 7 of the Heat Celtics series. Unfortunately, Jimmy is now eliminated. Um, we gotta tip our hats to Mr. Nolan Chang for making the correct. Oh, I thought you were making a face already. I was like, "Oh, Jared, not to make faces," but to Nolan for making the correct prediction for the NBA Finals. It will be the Warriors and the Celtics. Slow clap, golf clap. Yeah, you're right. All right, Jared. What were your thoughts from the series? I know we were in the same boat. We both were predicting that the Heat were going to make it. We did predict the Game 7 correctly, so that's
Yep.
one good. That's 1 point for us. But unfortunately, they did not make it past the Celtics. What did you see? What were they doing to neutralize the Heat, or was there something that the Heat just weren't doing?
I mean, we like we said we talked about this, but it was all about it was literally all about the rotations. Tyler Hero playing 7 minutes, PJ Tucker playing 17 minutes. Like
Mm.
those are the
No
players who kind
excuse.
of got you there. Those are the players that got you there. I don't care. I don't care if Hero was hurt or whatever. You got to give him that time to shine. Like we talked about in past podcasts, he is the number 2 scorer on that team. He has
Yep.
been when Jimmy's not like when Jimmy's doing Jimmy, of course, but when you need somebody to step up into that second row, he was that guy, and he took 2 shots and played 7 minutes. I mean, that doesn't say anything for me, you know.
It's not.
And we've said, the comfortability of a lineup. PJ Tucker's been there. He's been there. He's been in the playoffs before. He's been in big moments. And to play him only, yeah, exactly. There you go. And he won with the Bucks last year. But I mean, to give him 17 minutes of play, yeah, maybe they were trying to look at something like the plus minus. I'll say it. He was negative 16 when he's on the court. But it's not about being negative 16. We always talk about the little things that players like him.
Jimmy Butler
That,
was a -4
yeah,
in that. Yeah. So the one thing I would say too is that, I mean, we kind of touched on it, and both of you kind of touched on it. The fact that it wasn't so much what the Celtics were doing, but it was a lot of what the Heat weren't doing. Um, as we've talked about before, with their kind of core 7 guys that they've got between the two Williams, Horford, Smart, Tatum, Brown, and I don't even know who their last guy is, Pritchard maybe, but between those guys in their rotation and their ability to switch between positions and the fact that they can kind of run that group constantly, it was a little odd for me that the Heat weren't going any deeper. I mean, you already said it. They didn't play Hero. They didn't play PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker for me had an amazing game 6. He basically kind of helped bring them back in that game. We thought it was over at halftime, and then he made a few, like I said, non-box score plays that he always does. PJ Tucker ball. He showed up, and it was just, I don't know. It was just weird to me that they wouldn't play him and they wouldn't play Hero. Like I was looking at the lineup at the end. It's Struss, Oladipo, Laurie, Butler, and Bam. And I guess on paper that looks like a not too bad lineup because you got 2 guys who were all stars not too long ago, plus Jimmy who's been a superstar throughout this entire playoffs, and you got Bam who also was an all star. But realistically, what Laurie and Oladipo were doing throughout the game was, I mean, I know it says that Oladipo was a plus, like a huge plus, but I don't know. To me, it seems weird that you wouldn't ride with the guys that you've been riding through the entire playoffs with. You have
yeah.
Hero, like you said, 6 man of the year. PJ Tucker is a big part of what they do. I just don't understand why try to change your identity or why try to not change things up at the end. So that's one thing I was kind of curious why Spoelstra wasn't making any changes. But on top of that, Jimmy Butler takes that shot, and I mean I get it, I understand it. Every big player wants their big player moment, especially in the playoffs. You want to go for the win, but I just had to break it down logically. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're thinking percentages as far as like where that game could have gone. Yes, the Celtics would have had another possession, but there's the chance that they don't do anything with that last possession. You know what I'm saying? Like the Heat could have locked them up in that last, what was it, 11 seconds or whatever, that 18 seconds that
He took it
happened
with
after.
18 left.
So for me, I feel like the percentages wise, he should have just gone for that too. I mean, you tie up the game. Maybe you kind of force them to take an errant shot, or maybe they take a shot that's earlier in the shot clock. You know what I mean? I mean, you could possibly have left the guy open, let them take that layup, and then you got the last shot. I don't know. I'm just saying there's a lot of different ways that scenario could have played out, but I just felt like percentages wise, I get why he did it, but I don't see the logic in it. I feel like it should have been, one of those things where he goes around an older player in Horford who's got the knees of an old man and he's backing up in that play. I'm just thinking like you probably could have gotten the and one, and I feel like all series, if not all postseason, he's been doing that to all of the bigs, especially Horford. He's been getting and ones on Horford constantly throughout the playoffs. So I see where you're going. So we're going to roll this conversation into some of the offseason moves that you guys think that the Heat could, should, will make. So I'm just looking at you, Jared, first. What do you think are some moves that you'd like to see, or you think that they could make during this offseason? Or do you think they don't make any moves and they kind of just
you got to get rebounding. You got to get a secondary scorer. Joel Embiid's a great person there. I think,
and they love each other.
Yeah, and I mean the hints have been all dropped there, but can they afford to move all the assets and still be a competitive team? We said that this team has been there like 3 years in a row. They've been right on that brink of that, and to lose all the pieces that helped you get there. Not just saying Jimmy was the only reason why, but
yep.
I mean it's hard because you know how good Joel Embiid is. He's number 2 in MVP voting. He knows how to stretch the floor. He can score. He can play on both sides of the ball. And you've seen in this playoffs how important he is to his team. When he's out, like it sucks. And when he's in, like he's a big factor. Even if he wasn't scoring for them, he was still such a big presence on the offensive and defensive end. So I mean, for him, he's going to get his boards. He's going to get his points. If we're talking about 3-point shooting, like I've said it, Zach LaVine is always a great fit. He's a great scorer. He's been shooting the ball well. I think he's very adaptable to the things that he can do. So him going there, but like again, what kind of pieces are you willing to give up? Who can you trade? Because they have a lot of people that I would trade, but you can't trade.
I was gonna say, I didn't think about Zach LaVine, but I would take Tyler Hero in that trade. I'm just saying, that wouldn't be bad for us. Sorry.
But I mean, Kyle Kuzma. It's just,
over here.
Kyle Kuzma's, for Nolan, it's all about Kyle Kuzma.
I was like, don't entertain this stupid idea.
Bradley
I would like to see, I would like to see them kind of make a bigger swing. You know what I'm saying? I think you've been to the finals, if not the conference. I mean, the conference finals, if not the finals, in the last few years. So you have this chance. This is your window. Nobody's getting younger in that group. So I mean, realistically, if you're going to take your shot, take it now. And I don't see you getting rid of Jimmy Butler. So in my head, it's like if you already have Jimmy and you already know he's getting up there in age and his next contract might be his last contract, maybe that's the time to be like, let's buy in now. Let's swing for the fences. Mm-hmm. What do you think the Warriors have to do to kind of neutralize the Celtics? What do you think that they can do, and what are the things that you've seen them already kind of do in the last couple of series?
I think it's gonna be one of those like how Nolan's talking about. You let Steph do Steph in a sense. You try to shut him down as best you can. You have to do the same thing with Jason Tatum on the other side of the ball, because as I've said time and time before, they go as far as he goes because he's their number one guy. And then you see who steps up after that. Smart and Jaylen Brown stepped up in Game 7. Like that's where they got help. Then Harford had that one big game, and and it's not just one big game for him. He has the ability to score if he has the opportunities to, but he doesn't need to because the other three are taking care of business. But on the other side of the ball, I mean, I'm literally looking at the bench scoring for the Warriors. Like Nolan said, they are deep and they all have experience, but they don't always show up. I mean, there's been a bunch of instances where Jordan Poole doesn't show up. In the starting lineup, I think the X factor is going to be Andrew Wiggins. Mm-hmm. And I don't say Clay as much because they know the 1-2 punch is always going to be Clay and Steph. But Andrew Wiggins has his opportunities. He's taken like full advantage of it. He was an all-star and he's played like an all-star all year. Yeah, he goes through his slumps, but I think it's because he knows that he's kind of allowed to, in a sense. When you play Clay and Steph, you kind of have that get out of jail free card in a sense, because they can take over a game at any time. Clay's
Yeah.
known to take over third quarters. Steph is known to, as soon as Steph gets hot, Steph can just like flip a switch, and it's crazy where he can shoot from. Um, for me though, one of the biggest things we talked about the depth of the Celtics is
Mhm.
gonna be how all the turnovers that the Warriors will not have. Because once they start turning the ball over, every team that they've played in the playoffs so far, once they got their turnovers up, they've either gotten blown out or they've gone colder than cold because they can't get in a good rhythm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say when it comes down to it, turnovers, turnovers, turnovers. Wait, can you repeat the question?
Michael Jordan is more responsible for changing the game of NBA basketball, or just changing the game, than Steph Curry. Yay or nay?